Daguerreo.
Who's asking?
I am.
Yeah? And who are you? I ain't Daguerreo, alright? You got the wrong guy.
I don't think so.
You know what I think?
I don't care.
I think you should die!
Always the same.
Hello and welcome to How to Be a Great GM presents the Training Grounds. My name is Guy and tonight we're going to be meeting a new GM and players as the GM takes us through another exciting adventure in the hopes of scoring well on the score sheet or improving an existing score. What am I talking about? Well, each of the GMs that are participating in Training Grounds have been given a predefined scenario that they will be required to run through the players tonight. The players are randomly drawn from those who volunteered to play in the game, as well as myself. And after 90 minutes of playing in the GM's world, the players and myself will get to score the GM based on certain criterion. The criterion I'm talking about is this. This is the scorecard that the GM will be aiming to try and hit the marks on. Now, bear in mind, the GM does not want to get the highest mark because that gives them no room for improvement or for betterment. This is not a competition about who is the best GM. This is a competition about oneself and improving on one's own abilities. Now, you can see we've got various categories there. We've got the rules. How are they applied? Are they applied correctly or at least appropriately? There's story categories. What's the tone or the pacing like? There are NPCs, critical elements of the game, of course. There's style, and then, of course, table management itself. So what will happen is each of the players and myself will give the GM a score out of 5, meaning that there will be a total of 25 points that they can score per item. And at the end of it, I will present the scorecard back to the GM and to you, the viewers, and take them through some of the salient points, areas that can be worked upon and improved upon for the following week. Of course, if this is the second week that they're participating, we will have that score sheet from last week. We will have a look at it and see where they should be aiming to improve. Now, at home, of course, you are watching this. You have that wonderful ability of not being completely ensconced within the game, not trying to play the game. So think kindly when you are judging these individuals and look at the scores and see how they would apply to yourself. At least that's part of the plan. But enough from me. Let's get on with the show and let's meet tonight's GM. Bang! Hello everybody and welcome to this evening's show. I am me, obviously. I don't change very often. That's my bad. I should probably change more often. Anyway, you're not here to see me. You're here to see some amazing GMs play. We've got a great GM in the making, or already a great GM, or perhaps our first washout. Who knows? I mean, anything could be possible. No, it's not going to be a washout. He's a great GM, and so let's bring him in. Let's bring in the party as well. Here we go. And Spike is our GM for this evening. Welcome everybody to the show.
Howdy, everybody.
Spike, you volunteered to be a DM for us today. How did you get into it?
I like to listen to music, get into kind of the scenes that I want to see coming and think about how I'm going to put everything together and focus on what I'm going to try and evoke in my players and through the scenes we create.
There we go. How long have you been playing D&D for? Or role-playing?
28 years, I think. 29, yeah. I traced it back to the 1989 December issue of Transformers, where I saw my first D&D ad, and it's just been downhill ever since.
There you go. That is fantastic. Hillary, you seem to have some fans in the chat. They're saying, hi, Hillary. So there we go. And kicking us off, Hillary, who will you be playing tonight if the audience can't read?
Hi, I'm Tajo. I'm a life cleric.
I like that. And Eric?
I'm playing Ishka, the Tiefling Barbarian.
There you go, Ishka, the Tiefling Barbarian. Zeba Shoe says this is absolutely brilliant and good thing to have so many people in watching the show tonight. So sitting next to Ishka is someone playing a little person.
Very much. We've got Bracklor, the 1 foot tall Dragonborn wizard.
That's it, Bracklor, the 1 foot tall Dragonborn. Can you tell our audience how Bracklor became 1 foot?
He had a bit of a bad time. He was a very powerful mage, and unfortunately, he made a mistake and happened to shrink himself down. So now he's just living his best life in his little tiny body, and he's not very happy about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then we got Daniel playing someone who's not as small.
Not as small, just smaller than the average human. I will be Benson, the gnome rogue.
There we go, absolutely. Which means that I get to play Sasha. And I'm kind of feeling like Sasha's going to talk like this. So if I offend anyone because of this particular accent, well, you should be offended and sit down and just enjoy the show. So that is where we are at. GM, you are going to take it away. I'm just waiting for the number to get easy for me to do the maths, but it's not going to happen. So GM, the table is yours.
Okay. So, as I'm sure you all know, you are a recently assembled crew of adventurers, with Benson being your de facto leader, more because no one else wants to deal with talking to people and putting together the logistics than anything else. Our adventure tonight opens with the group standing on a shaky, narrow platform. It's jostling beneath their feet in front of a strange steel doorway, which Benson is examining, prodding and prying at it with both his thieves' tools and his tinker's kit as he is trying to find a way to get it open. So, Benson,
Yes.
since you have proficiency in both tinker's tools and investigate, as well as thieves' tools, I would like you to make an investigate check with advantage.
Gotcha. Investigation. Ooh, with advantage. I'll take the 19, so that's a 23 total.
Fantastic. You are able to find a panel that you can remove, almost like a plate of armor, on the back of this strange doorway on this vehicle, which is racing away, that your group is standing on. You're able to pry it off using some of the tools, and there's some unusual screws you have to pull out of there. But you get it off, and beneath you see a mixture of mechanical engineering beneath, as well as some strange devices which you recognize as having something to do with electricity, though the theory it's mostly theory at this point, or so you thought. Regardless, with such a good roll, you're able to determine that an electrical charge could short circuit this and open the doorway. Tajo, this is where you step in. While you are a cleric of life, you are also a high elf, raised in their ways and taught the ways of magic, as it is just woven into the nature of elven culture. And Benson realizes that you could use your shocking grasp to be able to overload this. You're not going to need to make an attack roll, but I would like you to make a damage roll for it to see whether you're able to charge it enough to overload the door.
Step aside, Benson. Looks like you could use some assistance. I gotcha.
Yeah, just hurry up.
Okay, shocking grasp. I don't know what my damage is for that. Sorry, I thought it was on here.
Your damage for shocking grasp is a d8 lightning damage.
Got it. That is 7 points of lightning damage.
Oh, more than enough, as the panel begins to smoke and you see blue static charges of electricity dancing over the frame of this doorway as it suddenly slides open from both sides, revealing the interior of this strange vehicle that you're all balanced on that's rocking beneath your feet. The room inside is maybe 8 feet wide. It has a U shape like the inside of a covered wagon or carriage, though made completely out of steel. You can see panels along the sides that are closed currently but look like they could open. And at the far end, there is what looks like some kind of control console that is full of levers. Unfortunately, between you and the console, there is a lithe, tall finely dressed human male, completely white skin, all white hair, pink around the eyes, and pink irises as well, and has a scar down one eye that's milky white from some old wound. He's someone that you all know, or at least his reputation. He's known as the Pale Lord, one of the many enforcers that works for the Coin Lord McDraken. Standing behind him at the control console is a large insectoid creature, an exotic being who you only know, again, because of the reputation working for the Coin Lord. Bzz, bzz, a Thry-Kreen scion who seems to be operating the strange contraption but turns to face you all as the door slides open. And flanking the Pale Lord are two small, strange humanoid creatures that look like they're made out of rotting vegetation and fiber. Vegapygmies that are seem to be at the command of these dastardly minions. But you have caught them by surprise. And Ishka and Sasha, this is where you step in, quite literally. You both have an opportunity to catch them by surprise and to rush your opponents within.
Well, after you, honey.
But of course, you go right, I go left.
Sure. Do I have space to swing my greatsword in here, or will I have to just use javelins?
You will not have space to swing it, but for going in initially, I mean, you can charge point first. Also, you're skilled with your greatsword, so while it's more difficult, any good Hema fighter knows how to deal with close combat.
Oh, yeah.
But Ishka is carrying a battle axe. A greatsword and a battle axe in a narrow hallway don't really, side by side, don't work well together.
You slash him first, take a step forward, I'll come in behind, finish him off. It's right easy simple.
Sounds good. So, who goes first?
So Ishka, you go rushing in first as Sasha is going to back you up, doing your old 1-2 maneuver. Did you want to go for the Pale Lord or the Vegapygmies?
I will.
Oh.
I will rage and go for the Pale Lord.
Okay.
I'm just I have not played Barbarian, just double checking, make sure I don't have a bonus to attack on that. I do not. Just damage.
Mm-hmm.
Will it show this?
No.
No, it will not.
Background.
Natural 20.
Hey.
Oh, most
Starts.
excellent. Well, you catch him completely by surprise, and he's wearing a breastplate, but that doesn't protect his head and other fleshy bits. Roll damage.
Let's see.
Oh, you have a battle axe, so that's 1-8, so it'll be 2d8 plus 2.
Yes. So I rolled a 4 and an 8, plus 2 is 14.
Oh, plus your rage bonus, so that's going to be 16.
16, thank you.
His head still has a look of shock and surprise as it goes sailing through the air, carried by the momentum behind you. There's a spattering of blood that hits you and Sasha as it sails by, and his corpse just falls to his knees and forward as the blood begins to pool on the ground. Sasha?
I needed a shower today.
Actually, and I do use the cleave through enemies rule from the DMG. So if you kill an opponent that is uninjured in one blow, the spillover damage, if the attack roll would be good enough to hit an adjacent foe, will spill over to them. So that is not only enough to kill the Pale Lord, but you also finish the blow as you bring it down, sinking it into one of the Vegapygmies, nearly bisecting it. But even as you pull your axe free, you can see that the rotting fibers of the Vegapygmy seem to be pulling themselves back together. Sasha, the spatter of blood across your face is your cue to go.
Benson, honey, do you want us to take any prisoners? Speak
would
now.
assume not.
Okay! I just drive my sword straight through the 3 queen. I hit an armor class of 16.
Okay. That is just enough to hit the Thri-Crane. Bzz, bzz, is shocked and surprised.
14 points of damage. I rolled a 6 and a 5.
It lets out a high-pitched, chittering screech, I guess? It's hard to say. But you don't speak Thri-Crane. I don't think any of you do anyway. But clearly the creature is alarmed, and you can see the cracks spread through the carapace from where your great sword, the tip of it, had pierced it. Not only opening up a gash in its side, but also in the large thorax that's at the rear of the creature, where it sunk in deep and ichor is oozing out. Bracklor, you hear a commotion. And you'd already been wondering exactly what was happening as you poke your head out of the faux basilisk hide dark green trunk that you had been hiding in and that had been loaded onto this strange vehicle. You heard your companions, surprisingly, this was not the plan, and you see them rushing in there and killing one of the minions of McDraken that was in there as well. But taking in this scene, you also realize that there is no one at the controls of this vehicle, and you are indeed in a vehicle. As you look out the back door that your allies just charged through, you can see the road and the terrain and the skyline of the city beginning to disappear and fade behind you as whatever vehicle you are in seems to be racing at incredible speeds. While the Thri-Crane is distracted, you have an opportunity to go and try and man the controls.
Absolutely. So as Bracklor's kind of getting up here, he's snapped shut his spell book that he was studying on the inside and just gives off a sigh. Just violence yet again. Every time violence. And with a sigh, he hops up onto the edge and with a quick hop, he spreads open his wings and glides quickly over to the controls as he begins to study them.
Okay. There are
a way to see if we can stop it or change its course.
There are 10 levers at this control panel. Each of them can be moved either up or down. And from what you can see, it appears that they're set to reset after you operate them. So presumably each lever in each direction of the lever will garner a different result. Though, give me you can either make an investigation check or an intelligence check.
Yeah,
basically the same thing,
more or less. So we'll see what we get here.
Okay.
Oh, that is we're starting off good here. That is a natural 20.
Okay. So obviously each of these levers is probably going to control the same mechanism, but one might be, say, like an open position and one might be a close. Like presumably one of them controls the panels along the side that allow you to will probably open up as windows. That makes sense. You can't figure out what all of them are doing, but you are able to puzzle out, like you're sure that lever number 2 will open and close the forward window shutter, which looks to have gotten closed when the Thri-Crane was stabbed and got knocked back into it. So since seeing is important, I'm going to presume that you would like to open that one first so you can see where you're trying to steer this thing. And as you hit the lever and move into the up position, the windows open. And there's a pair of, they almost look like shaped crystal or glass panels that are tinted a dark gray or black. Though from your side, it just seems to wash out the color a little bit around you. But as you're looking forward for seeing finally where you're headed, you are indeed heading down one of the main roads into the Imperial City. And unfortunately, it seems that you are heading straight for the Cliffs of Lost Hope at an incredibly high rate of speed. You're going to have to do something about this quickly. As you start wondering about how you got into this mess in the first place, Bracklor, give me a perception check. Actually, all of you can give me a perception check.
Nope, I am focused on the 3 green.
All right, that is going to be a 15 from Bracklor here.
Okay.
I
7.
got an 18. Oh. I got an 18.
Okay. Well,
I
it
got
seems...
4, so nothing.
So it seems that Tajo, Ishka, and Bracklor all notice a muffled cry that comes from the corner next to where the control console is in the far front of this vehicle. And you see there a bedraggled-looking, dark-skinned dwarf with large, almost like frayed or splayed-out hair. It's in an asymmetrical part. It's bound and gagged. The mechanician. He is the reason that you are all in this mess.
Ah, I found him.
So, cut to earlier today.
Flashback.
It is dusk, sundown. Within the capital city of Mahapajit, of the sovereignty of the Chalcedony throne. Loyal citizens call themselves Chalcedonians, while dissidents and outsiders will derogatorily refer to them as serfs due to the feudal system that is in place. Regardless, this is not something that concerns Bracklor, who is in the middle of tutoring a young dragonborn of Carvardian descent on the rituals of their people and how they pay homage to their creator, the world serpent, the origin of all magic, doing so in one of the well-appointed carved manors of the Cliffside district, the richest district within the city of Mahapajit. This is one of the ways you've been able to supplement your income. While you may have lost a certain physical stature, Bracklor, your name and your training, your pedigree still carries quite a bit of stature all on its own. And you can make a decent penny tutoring, though you find you're far more often hired to tutor children these days than you are other aspiring mages. But if you would like, you can make a religion check to see how good a job you are doing at imparting some of the traditions of your people to this youngling. And you are free to improvise your own tradition that you are instructing them on if you would like.
All right, so for that religion check there, we've, after modifiers, we have an 18.
Oh, well, you are well versed in the ways of your people and the traditions that exist in honoring the world serpent, which is the source of all magic in the world.
Absolutely. So these individuals that I'm tutoring, Rackler looks at them disappointedly, although inside he's pleased with the progress. He can't let that come out in his outward demeanor.
Exactly.
You youngling, left foot forward more and lower your head. You will never become one of our people like this.
He looks sheepishly down and tries to follow your instructions, doing their best to adhere to what you're saying, though still so much missing polish.
Brackler internally laments his days of seclusion and study among real professionals.
Yeah. Still, the children, they do their best, but well, you don't always know if you can hold out hope for this generation. You are interrupted by one of the goblin servants within this well-appointed manor house. The architecture here is all sweeping columns, mosaics that show ancient depictions of the dragonborn people and their history. It's something very common. It's got a very Greek or Babylonian style to it, and these houses are carved literally into the cliffside that makes up the border of part of the city of Mahapajit. The goblin that comes to interrupt is well dressed, with a little, even wearing a jacket with a set of tails. You have a visitor. At the front gate. In Carvodia, the goblinoids were long ago subjugated by the Dragonborn, and since have existed as second-class citizens that fill servile roles within their society.
And the Brackler looks down at his students.
Younglings, we have enough for today. Off with you now. And be sure to arrive again at dawn.
I see motions for the goblin to lead the way.
Gives you a curt nod, turns on his heel, and leads you through the well-appointed house. There are pieces of art and relics displayed everywhere. It's you know that this is a reflection of your draconic heritage. In the same way that the great dragons hoard art and wealth and keep that in their homes, in their lairs. Dragonborn of good name do the same in their homes. You pass a pair of hobgoblin guards that are standing at the front gate, and you see a small halfling teen, probably from one of the island fiefdoms to the south, with a note addressed to you. You recognize the handwriting as that of Vinayaka, your fixer, who runs a large theater and fest hall in the Rajapalan part of town. The halfling hands it to you a little sheepishly, doesn't seem to like to make eye contact, even with you being so small. You're not sure if it's because of your reputation and attitude, or just because they don't want to be seen giggling because of your size.
Fair. Brackler's gonna like to think that he's still as intimidating and has a presence that he once did, but that's in contrast to his stature nowadays. So he'll accept the note and kind of motion for the young man to be on his way, unless he has anything else to say, and then take a look over it.
No, he dashes off, and it looks like he has a few messages in small parcels with him as well. And in fact, your note came with a very small parcel that's wrapped in butcher paper and thread. The note bids you to come and meet Vinayaka immediately about an important and lucrative opportunity.
Sounds like a plan.
As you were looking this over, the goblin manservant approaches from behind. I have your payment. Apologies. We were short on liquid assets. The Lord bid me give you this. So he gives you a small pouch of coins and a arcane scroll with a thunderwave spell on it.
All right. I'll gladly accept.
It's even well, I can't say it's a small scroll, but you can fold it up. As for the coins, you get 2d6 times 5 GP. So you can roll that 2d6. I trust you. But 2d6 times 5 GP for your payment.
All right, that's 30.
Okay. Tajo, you are at a sacred grove in the Tuathan part of the city. Your armor and the tunic that you wore beneath off right now as you are training, doing the blade song katas of your people in the dying light around a tree in the grove here. While you may not be a blade singer, of course, all of the Tuathans are trained in the blade songs of Dianu, the elven gods. An old practice is to do these katas around a tree, making sure that the blade never touches it, never nicks the bark, never displaces a leaf or a branch. And as you are doing so, give me a perception check.
That is a natural 2.
Okay.
Plus
You have
perception. That's a 6.
So it could have been worse, but you have a sense of being watched. You think you know by who, but you are not able to catch any movement or hear any as you continue doing your katas and training in the dying light. But as you continue, you do eventually see movement, that of the priestess of the grove, one of the dryads that lives here, doing a dance that seems to mimic your own as she goes through the katas herself.
I know you're back there. You might as well show yourself.
Oh, she is not trying to hide. They sometimes join practitioners when they are practicing here in the sacred groves. And her movements are mimicking yours, though perhaps a little more smoothly. That may be a little bit of a taunt. Still, you can give me... We're going to use an attack roll in this case to represent your martial prowess, though you are not actually attacking anything.
Okay. With my longsword?
Yes.
Okay. That's a 7.
You stumble a few times, but she actually catches you and helps correct the motion. She gets close, and you can see that the slightest bit of a smirk of a smile on her face. There's definitely a tension that is there. This is not your first time worshiping, nor of doing this dance with this dryad. Though, as you turn to try and look at her, you hear someone approaching from the side, and as you look over and then back, she's already gone. You barely catch a glimpse of her hair disappearing into the tree as she tree strides away. And then you turn and see a small halfling child, a teen probably, there with a note and a package for you as well. The child's looking at you a little confused, and then at the pile of books and other study materials that you have open next to your kit and gear. Am I interrupting your studies? I have a note from Master Vinayaka for you.
Yes, but that's okay. I seem to have 2 left feet today.
The child nods and hands you a small note and a, not as small as Bracklor's package, but a small parcel that is wrapped in butcher paper and twine. It's the note has the same message, bidding you to come and meet with Vinayaka at his fest hall. As you get your kit together and your gear and towel off a little bit, despite your missteps, you can feel the blessing of the Dhyanu on you. So, at any time during this session, you can spend that blessing as a reaction to when any of your allies are getting a healing effect, to have that affect one other ally as well. So, for instance, you cast a heal spell on someone, that's a once per session, share that with somebody else.
Cool. Before I leave the grove, I just walk up to the tree I've been dancing around, put my hand on it, and say, "We'll see you again next time, old friend."
Okay. Sasha, you are stripped down to light clothing, circling the perimeter of a sunken wooden fighting ring, facing off against a dark-skinned dwarf of the Warai tribes of the foothills of Mount Kurkaraljo. He's wearing the brightly colored purple kusha cloth of his people tied around him as he circles looking for an opening. The wrestling match you were both engaged in. You have this is your first time facing off against him, but the pot is big, and you think you have the advantage. Still, might do best to rattle him a little bit. As you both face off, how do you try to intimidate or rattle him, either through your actions or your trash talk?
Sasha is watching him Sasha is watching him intently, and she's deciding she's going to try and emulate a little friend of hers who has quick wit. And so she looks at him and she says, "Well, aren't you a little thing?" I rolled a natural 1 on my intimidation.
I don't feel so bad about
Small
myself.
drops of water can wear down the tallest mountain. So you do not manage to rattle him, apparently, but still, you do have a size advantage. Why don't you both roll initiative? Or why don't you roll initiative, Sasha?
Sure thing. Oh, natural 20.
There we go. So even as he's responding, you've got the drop on him.
Yeah, it was a ruse, you see. That's why I was getting into his head by not getting into his head. It was all a plan.
So, exactly. And so, to win this wrestling match, you, of course, need to pin him. So you're going to have to get him prone, and you are going to have to grapple him. You may choose to either to knock him prone with a shove maneuver, which is a strength or athletics check opposed by his athletics or acrobatics, or you can choose to grapple, which is your athletics check opposed by his athletics or acrobatics.
This is definitely a case of he's got a low center of gravity and dwarves aren't that easy to take down. I'm going to grapple him and make him submit. Little water on a mountain. I'll show him what happens when a mountain comes to the water. Stop.
Okay. You
23.
charge. Oh my goodness. He got a 8. So
Yeah.
that's you're easily able to grab him and you move around behind him as you've got him almost in a full Nelson now. He's struggling. He's trying to throw you off balance and put his hip into you, but you've sunk low so that he's not able to use that natural advantage that he has.
Drip, drip, little man.
His turn. He is going to try and grapple you back. Turn around. Ah! So give me another athletics or acrobatics check.
13.
Well, I got a 4. So you managed to hold him in place.
Submit. Your mother was shaved.
You've nearly got him. Now you just have to bring him down. So this will be another opposed roll, but you have him grappled, so he's not able to move away. In fact, if you wanted to, you could move up to half your speed with him and see if you could get against the wall and use that to your advantage.
Sure thing. I'll rush him up against that wall and try and flip him over.
Okay. So you'll have advantage on this roll.
Thank the maker. That was a 5. And that was replaced by a 10, so 15.
Ooh, you beat me. The 5 would not have, but the 10 gets it. So you slam him to the ground. He's got one last chance to try and escape. I rolled a 10, so if you can roll higher than this. Now, he does have he has disadvantage because he's prone. Okay, yeah. So if you can hold him in place, you'll have him pinned.
15, stay down!
He only got a 10, so that is going to keep him down. There's cheers and a few boos, because, betting was going on from the crowd around you. But they lower down. It's just like a crude set of steps so that you can get out, and then some people rush in to help him back up. He looks a little grumpy. Then dwarves always look that way, but he gives you a curt nod, acknowledging that you won. And then you are presented with your winnings, which is 2d6 times 5 gold pieces. And for post-bout recovering, they actually give you... it's like a chaw. It's a chew that they give you. It's supposed to just help with kind of like numbing the pain, but at any point while you've got that, while you have that chew in your mouth, you can swallow it as a bonus action to gain the benefits of a healing potion. And I did not know you were going to go with a southern accent. I had this already written out. Perfect. And as you are celebrating your win and counting your winnings, a messenger from Vinayaka arrives for you as well, with the same note and also a, slightly larger than Tajo's package, but a small parcel. That will bring us to Ishka, who is in the middle of a drinking contest with a humongous lizard folk woman right now, who has iridescent black scales and gold patterning, likely from one of the tribes of the Sea of Thirst. But she's wearing the garb of one of the many mercenary companies that are in the employ of the Grand Army of the Chalcedonian Throne. It has been an intense match. You are already a few drinks in each of this strong local variant of whiskey that they have here. But you think you have the edge because of your tiefling constitution. So
I have to pick an opponent of appropriate strength, or there's no point in having a competition.
we'll see how long you last, soft skin. He throws back another drink. So you can make a constitution check. For a constitution save.
Well, apparently they spiked my drink. I have an 8 total.
Okay. You are starting to feel the effects of the drinking heavily. You've racked up, like you were barely able to get the drink down, and one more failure, and you're going to end up losing this contest. Still, it looks like your competitor was not faring too well with their drink either. They're pretty close to going down as well. It might be a little unethical, but well, why don't you give me a perception check?
7.
Actually, we'll make it intelligence, but 8. So, you don't. You're not able to tell just how close they are to going down, but you do think that with everyone being as distracted as they are, this is a rather rowdy dive bar down on the docks district. Just your kind of place where anything goes and there aren't many watchful eyes. But if you use thaumaturgy to turn their next drink into, from whiskey into pure, like, wood alcohol, no one would probably notice.
I'm sure they wouldn't.
Okay. So if you would like to do so, why don't you give me a stealth check just to see? I will give you advantage on this due to everyone being so distracted, just to see how well you are able to cover this.
18.
So you make a small gesture with your hand beneath the table and kind of mutter something into your hand like a cough, and you do turn their next shot into pure wood alcohol. Wood alcohol. So, as they go to take their shot, you wait just a second. You're still going to have to drink yours, so why don't you give me a roll there? But we're going to see who gets the lowest roll. You've got a pretty good shot, though.
All right, this time I rolled much better. I rolled a 16 plus 4, 20.
You get your second wind, whereas the lizard folk unfortunately rolled a natural 1 due to the disadvantage from the wood alcohol, and kind of wobbles. Soft skin, boom, and falls down with a loud thud. There's a cheer from the crowd. There's an exchanging of coins, changing hands here. You quickly grab your winnings off the table, even as you grab the pair of gnome wenches that were sitting next to you, male and female, and then a big old leg of cassowary drumstick, and take a bite of the meat out of that. As you're doing all this, though, something catches your eye. Not your eye, your ear. You hear your name coming from the far side of the bar. Ishka.
I will pat the lizard man or lizardkin gently on whatever I can reach the shoulder and say, competition is good. Winning is better. And head over to the other side of the bar to see who summons me.
As you get up, you see a little human girl. Blonde hair, short, very petite frame. Her head looks a little too big for her body. Her arms and legs slightly too long, a gangly little thing. As she giggles and then goes out the back door, disappearing around the corner into the alley that's adjacent. But you hear, Ishka. She calls to you again, and you feel drawn to her.
The only thing better than a trap is springing a trap. So I guess I will follow cautiously, try and shrug off as much of the alcohol as I can.
Okay. You are taking deep breaths, and you take another bite of meat before you head out over there. But there's something in your stomach, in your gut, is uneasy with all of this. As you go out into the alley, you see the small girl standing there, surrounded by shadows. She's lit by the cross-sectioned light coming from one of the windows in one of the buildings that juts the narrow, trash-filled alley here. But it creates a strange, stark contrast as the light falls across her, and it flickers occasionally from the wind, blowing a sign, wooden sign up above on its hinges, creaking as it sometimes blocks the light, creating a strobing effect of it slowly across the girl. As you look at her, give me a perception check.
5.
Okay. You're staring, and none of this seems right. And then you don't even know how it starts, but you realize that the alley seems longer, the dimensions distorted. You're feeling nauseous, and you think it's from the drink, but you realize it's because what you're seeing and what your body is feeling are not matching up, as it seems like the little girl is somehow growing larger and farther away at the same time. It is only as you're recovering from this, nearly nauseous to the point of vomiting, that you can see that her shadow is wrong. What's backlit in the flickering light is a tall form shrouded in a cloak, though even through that you can see the curve of sleek, powerful muscles. The head is chiseled, the sharp jawline, but most alarmingly, or comfortingly in your case, Ishka, there's the shadow of 2 immense bull-like horns emerging from the temples. The girl then speaks to you.
A time of great upheaval is coming. The chance to regain your status approaches, Ishka. All you need do is perform one task when I command. You know I possess this power. You know the Lord of Dis can do this for you.
Sorry, I didn't catch the last word.
You know the Lord of Dis can do this for you. The first step is to accept the message you are about to receive. And then know when you next hear my voice. All you need do is obey to recover all you dream and ache for.
You hear footsteps behind you, and you see a small halfling messenger boy arriving. You turn back, but the girl is gone. The proportions of the alley are all normal, sane again. But you feel a stinging.
Without the alcohol.
You might have passed it off as a hallucination from drinking too much, except you feel a burning sensation on your hand. And as you look onto your left palm, there is a burn in the shape of a sigil. The sigil of Belial. It glows red with light briefly as it sears into your flesh, and then simmers down, just leaving the scar of the mark behind. You may activate it once as a reaction when you receive damage to reduce that by 1d12. Once ever. Benson, you are playing dice with a Chalcedonian noble in one of the many back alleys of the Imperial City. He seems to be from the plantations of the Jarai Islands, worked by prisoners that are leased to the nobles there by the sovereignty. While it seems like you've been losing so far, that's all part of the long con, of course. because your real goal here is to lose a few silvers to this noble who thinks he's slumming it, while in actuality you are working to take everything out of his purse that he can, while you're giving him encouragement there next to him and helping him strategize. So I would like you to first give me a deception check, and I will give you advantage because this fella is pretty naive.
Awesome. Advantage, that's a 10 or a 17, so 21 total.
Oh, that is easily going to beat his passive insight. He has no idea what you are doing, and he's like, "Ha! I win again! Oh, this is so thrilling! I'm so excited! I'm so glad you convinced me to do this. What did you say your name was?"
Jex.
Jex!
Yes.
I shall always remember that. Yes.
Yes, always remember that. Man, I usually do a lot better than this. You're really good.
Oh, I know. It must, it's the noble blood. It makes us good at everything.
Ah, yes, that must be it.
So give me a sleight of hand check.
All right. 14 plus sleight of hand 2. 16.
Ooh, that is enough to catch him. I forgot to give you advantage on that because you completely bamboozled him. Still, more than enough for you to easily. You just slice the leather thongs on his purse and gently have it cupped in your hand as you slide it back into the pouch you have in your back under your cloak. And you're even able to take a small a pouch of rocks and attach it where the sack used to be. He's so distracted.
Fantastic.
Now you just got to wrap this up, but give me a perception check.
Can do. 10 perception, 11.
Okay. Since you're a little on alert, having just done this, you hear some footsteps and you see a shadow coming down the alleyway. It's elongated, making it look huge. But you realize it's probably much smaller than it might appear. Still, this could be your opportunity if you just shouted, "It's the watch!" Would you like to do so?
I would. I'll go. Now, don't look now, but you need to run. The watch is coming, and this isn't exactly what you might call noble appropriate.
What? Oh my! Oh! Okay, you stay here, and I will flee. I will bail you out later. I promise. Of
course.
I'll look at
I'll hold
Jax,
you to that.
yes?
Jax, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'll get to. Oh my! And he goes running off as you count your success. You did lose like a whole 9 silver pieces in that gambling, which you assured him was a lot of money to you poor folk. But you managed to get 2d6 times 5 gold pieces from his pouch. And an incredibly well-made, well-crafted dagger, a small poignard. This is... you can tell there's almost like a hum to it when you like tap it against something. You're sure it's magical. And just to speed things up, I'm going to tell you it's a dagger of inspiration. It has a 1d6 inspiration die. You can spend that as if a bard had given you an inspiration die on 1 skill check, 1 saving throw, 1 attack roll, or 1 damage roll, though attack rolls and damage rolls have to be with the dagger. Obviously, it recharges after a long rest. Now, the shadow was, of course, a small halfling child there with a message and a parcel for you.
Fantastic. I call really loudly, "No, of course there wasn't anyone else here."
And as you watch the noble flee down the alleyway, once it's clear, you nod to the kid and you go over and you check the note, recognizing it is from Vinayaka, and you get the parcel, which seems to contain brightly colored clothing. So, You have all arrived together at Vinayaka's Theater and Fest Hall of Vrindavan. It's built out of marble with sweeping Nagara-style towers, just layers built on top of each other, carvings of all kinds of mythological creatures and gods from the Rajapal mythology on there. The tops of the towers look as if they're made of gold, though it couldn't possibly be real because somebody would have figured out a way to steal it at this point if it was. Likely an illusion or gold paint. But you are all decked out in the outfits that you found in the packages. These are brightly colored saris, lehengas, and sherwani, which are long-sleeved, long tunics that go all the way down to the knees. They're in bright greens, blues, yellows, purples, all types of colors, except red, Ishka. Knowing that would be your favorite color.
Clashes horribly with my skin color.
You are all welcome to get decked out in whichever one of the 3 outfits you were given you wish to. And while this is unusual, you're not surprised. Vinayaka hosts a lot of events. He's very popular in town. That's why he's such a good fixer. And in this case, as you look at the huge, ostentatious building in front of you, there's a cavalcade of noise, shouts, singing, drums, chanting, color, and joy that are coming from within. There is a wedding going on. At the entrance, overseeing the doorman there and checking invitations, is a 3-headed Yuan-Ti abomination that you know is Shesha, who's one of Vinayaka's bodyguards. He goes bare torso, just wearing some loose flowing pants and a bright purple sash as a belt. And one of his heads glares at you all, and then you see the other 2 looking you all over. He smirks when he sees you all in your outfits. Glad you could get into the spirit of things. But then he motions to all of you to follow you as he ushers you inside to go meet your fixer, Vinayaka. As you find him further inside the building, you can see the interior is decorated in garlands and brightly colored cloths everywhere. There's occasionally brightly colored powder or sand being thrown into the air, creating these great clouds of vibrancy throughout. Everyone is singing and dancing or chatting with each other and enjoying a variety of Rajapalan foods here. You're led through the festivities to where the Loxo, the elephant man, Vinayaka, is coordinating staff and speaking and schmoozing with guests as he tends to always be doing. He perks up seeing you all and motions you over, offering you samosas, pori, and mango lassi. Standing behind him is his lieutenant and his other bodyguard, Kalika, a huge tiefling woman with deep blue skin and 4 arms, who always seems to have at least one pair of them crossed and is looking at everyone with a scowl. Though a little bit of a smile when she sees Ishka. I am so glad you all could make it on such short notice. Let me explain why I have called you here. Besides being here for the premier wedding of the season between the Rajapal and Ungol Khanate noble houses, everyone will be talking about this.
That poor woman is just being sold into slavery, and you know it, Vinny.
Which one are you speaking of? There are 2 brides.
Either one of the marriages is a complete trap. It's a slavery. That's all it is. We know it to be true.
Well, I suppose that is why you are never booking Vrindavan. A shame. Still, if you ever change your mind, Sasha, I know a fine gentleman I could set you up with.
The day I become a slave again is the day that I die.
Can I meet the gentleman? No?
I will see it. Sasha usually does not go for elves. Yeah, I will ask. He may be interested. Anyway, the reason that you are here, an opportunity has arisen, but we must act fast. You see, My agents have discovered that the Coin Lord McDraken has an artificer held captive in his employ. He has been using him to build some kind of immensely powerful necromantic device. This artificer, Dr. Kamkwamba, known as the Mechanician, you may have heard of him. In fact, some of you have. Benson, you have heard of the Mechanician, who's been creating a number of mechanical innovations before he just kind of disappeared off the map. Bracklor, you had heard of him because of research that he had been known to be doing into enlargement and shrinking rays. Now, the Mechanician was able to smuggle out a message a few weeks ago to an old friend of his, who then contacted Vinayaka. Unfortunately, McDraken has had the Mechanician locked up tight in a secure abode in the Cliffside district. We have not been able to smuggle him out. But tonight, probably because it is the Grand Soiree to celebrate the continued reign of the Chalcedonian throne, McDraken has ordered a trunk delivered to the Mechanician's abode. We do not know why. Partway through, there will be an opportunity to intervene. And this would be your way in to get the Mechanician out tonight while McDraken is distracted. Now, as Vinayaka is speaking to you all, someone comes over and whispers something to him, and you hear the music begin to pick up and people start cheering. Well, it is time for the Sangeet. Everyone, please follow me while I can continue talking. So you're all following him as he leads the way out onto the dance floor. And it seems like everyone's kind of like shuffling to the floor, moving around now. But you realize as people start lining up that seems to be a divide between both sides of the dance hall at this point. It's the two sides of the family. The Sangeet is the part traditionally during the second day of the wedding, when everyone does choreographed dancing or singing routines involving most of the family and guests. There's a little bit of a competition between it too for the families here. Now, luckily, you are not in the front tiers, but while this conversation is going on, I'm going to need all of you to make a dexterity perform check.
I will not be dancing the Shava Shava again, okay? I am telling you this right now. Why does Vinny do this to us? This is a question I have to ask. Taja, you haven't sat into this crazy man's head.
Just come dance with us. It'll be great. Come on, Sasha. Just
it's
one
a form
more
of
time.
entrapment.
Right foot goes over this way, left foot this way, whatever. Roll the 4.
So Sasha is just shuffling back, or Ishka is just shuffling back and forth from one foot to the other, kind of doing like the white man's overbite. It's something, at least. It's movement. It's not necessarily rhythmic, but it works. The rest of you manage. Bracklord's a little easier for you because you can just kind of twirl and flit about.
Sasha actually got an 18.
Oh, despite Sasha's complaints, she seems to be quite adept. Yes, as she is moving in time. She may resent it, but she's not going to be bad at it.
I badly try to mimic Sasha. I got an 8.
It is just not a day for dancing for Tajo. Seems you're a little tuckered out already. So, as you are all doing your best, Vinny continues for you all. We were tipped off by one of McDraken's network, a spy that we have there. So we know the route the trunk will take. There will be just enough time to intercept the couriers at Siren Song Alley, which most of you are familiar with. It's uphill from all the brothels on the docks, and due to just the acoustics of the terrain, you can hear almost all of the body songs being sung from that sector of the docks, like all echoing in that one alley there, as if you're right next to them. We have a chest prepared, so you can switch it out. You will need to ambush them or distract them. It doesn't matter how. You just need to get that chest to the building and get it delivered. Once inside, one of your members can climb out of the chest and let the others in. And everyone looks at Bracklord.
Yep.
Do not worry.
It can... sigh.
It can be opened from the inside.
Let's hope.
If you can complete this for me, I can give you each 500 gold pieces. We have many people very interested in this.
Vinny, I have a question for you, honey. Why was this machinist stolen in the first place? What's he got to do for this Lord McDragon, whatever the hell his name is?
McDouble.
Well, you know, he has had him working on a number of innovations, but the main work seems to be some type of necromantic device. My spies have not been able to find out much, but whatever it is bad news for all of us. McDragon is greedy enough he would sell his own mother's soul for a profit, and this may let him do that.
The normal, very jovial Tajo at the mention of a necromantic device gets uncharacteristically serious.
So, the mechanician is our key to being able to find this out, and to do that, we need to get him out. If you will do this for me, Shesha will show you the way. I'm sure you know how to... No, he will to give you directions.
Oh.
Do you all accept?
Of course. I know you're good for it.
It's hard to say no to 500 gold, right? Right?
Very good. It is well worth it if it means I get to stick it to McDragon.
All right, we need some time. We'll get this box to the alley, and we'll get it. Don't you worry. I just need a moment to confer with our with everybody else around here. You go back and dance, Vinny. They're missing your moves.
Of course, and please do try some of the galoptramen before you go. They are delicious.
On the way back, try to get through as many of the colored clouds as possible.
Oh, and just a quick side note, can I look around and see if anyone's been listening to our employer speaking out in the open during a wedding?
Sure. Give me a perception check.
Okay. 17 plus 2 is 19.
The only people who were listening were people you know are his, and he does have a lot of people throughout here. He is the consummate host. He is literally known as the host of Lords because he hosts Lords. That's, if you want a party, if you want someone to host an event for you, he is the number one person to go to.
Perfect.
So y'all heard that about the undead, right? Necromancy.
Seems intriguing.
Most worrying.
Mm-hmm.
Taja, I didn't spend much time with my paladin folk learning so much about the undead as we did learning how to get money out of people while they were enslaved to religion. So why don't you tell me a little bit, what do you know about the undead necromancy? Are we fighting skeletons and ghouls and zombies and ghosts and stuff? Is anything we should be worried about?
It is quite likely. There are many nasty things involved in necromancy. Things that should be dead should stay dead, but they don't with that awful tradition. Does anybody have any ability to fight undead besides myself?
My axe.
That's a good place to start.
Last I checked, the flesh is still flammable.
This is
I
true.
don't have anything specific, but I mean, this is all assuming that he already created this device. No, aren't we trying to stop it before he makes it, or did he already make it?
Well, the bottom line is we might fight whatever we might fight. If he's tinkering around with necromancy, who knows what he's done, right? I just want to make sure we got a clear idea of what we're going in for here.
And your task is to retrieve the mechanician. You're not looking for whatever device.
Just need to bring the little man back.
Yeah. Are we sure we want Brackler in that box? Is he really the right person to be in there?
I mean, how big is the box?
How big is the box?
It's a small it's a small trunk. Sorry, I was holding my hands up. So it's a small trunk. It's not super big. Benson could potentially fit in there, but it would be too heavy, and because that would be like it's completely full, and they want to have at least something in there so that if someone looked inside, they won't just like immediately, like if they checked it, for instance, before they brought it into the building. Brackler has the ability to hide underneath stuff. Benson will not.
If we cut off Benson's legs, would he be small enough and light enough?
Yes.
Okay.
We can't do that.
But then I couldn't get out and let you in, which is the point.
I think he's more of use to us with both legs intact.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I'm very sorry, Bracklor, but it looks like you're the man for the job.
It's more, it appears.
We need to work out like oh, sorry. Ishka, you go for it.
It's okay. Do have one more question. If we are unable to retrieve this mechanician person, do we kill instead, or do we leave him in McDraken's care?
I think that for our employer.
Yeah, it's the implication. You need him alive. I'll just like say that clearly. They want him because of his knowledge. If he's dead, they can't get access to him.
Yes, I know the ideal goal is alive.
Yeah.
If we're unable to for whatever reason,
Leave him alive.
okay. Darn.
Sorry, you're going to have to restrain yourself this time.
I hate that.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of other things to use your axe on.
Good.
So you know that from what Shesha is able to tell your group as he gives you the directions, that the couriers, it's just a pair of footmen and one that's leading them with the trunk being transported on the back of a giant fire beetle, used pretty commonly, especially for transportation at night when people are going on foot, because they glow. They provide light around them, which is usually enough to stave off a lot of attacks. Lamps being built in London is one of the main things that dropped the crime rates way back when. So you could try and ambush them, though you might have an easier time of having someone distract them while someone else switches out the trucks. But it is totally up to you guys how you want to approach the alley. You can't see this because of the
Nope.
Curses. Well,
That's all right. We'll get there.
The alley is narrow, but there are a number of places either above or little side passages that you could hide or lurk in if you wanted to. It's really about the approach you folks want to take.
Benson, this sounds to me like this is your operation. What do you want us to do?
Well, I would prefer if we distracted them, because then they don't know that anything's up when we switch out the trunks. Could stage someone's terribly hurt and we need their assistance, depending on their moral fiber. We could stage trying to hold them then running away. We could stage talking at them, blocking a path so they have to change routes. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm okay with hurting someone.
Ishka and Sasha could always pretend to fight each other.
Yeah, someone's got to put the box in position. Tajo, is that something you'd be interested in doing? Do we think the box is going to be quite heavy?
No. It's fairly light. In fact, it is light enough that Bracklor might be able to use Mage Hand to help move himself.
I think I can handle that. I am not very good at deceiving things, and I can't keep a secret to save my life or anyone else's. So just so you know, I'm just
okay.
You know that. If we put her in like an alcove where they can't see her, wait for them to pass by, she comes up behind, switches out the trunks.
I am actually a he, but thank you.
Oh, right. He. I knew that.
What if the whole thing's locked down? Don't you think we need to take that into account? You go with Tajo, two of you come in on the back.
Can you do things with locks?
But you don't need to open the trunk because you're just switching it out. So the trunk is strapped onto the back of one of the fire beetles. They have like a little platform on there. Well, it's more like a little prong so they can hold anything that's placed on top of it.
Bracklor, what kind of stuff could you do? I mean, I don't mind the idea of Ishka and myself putting on some kind of display or, pretending to be ladies in distress. Not that anyone would believe that. I mean, but could you do a thing?
Here's my options are mildly limited from within the confines of a box.
Oh yeah, that's right. No.
Well, you can open it. You can open it from the inside, so you do have the option to literally like peek out and pew pew, or do a little mage hand or something like that.
Yeah,
we'll have a little artillery box. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like you guys are going to have Tanjo switch out the trunk, and then Benson will do the talking for whatever the distraction is. And then Sasha and Ishka, did you want to argue? Did you want to be ladies in distress? Did you want to be fighting or aggressively sexually harassing the thugs? It's up to you.
I don't mind being a victim if you want to be chasing me.
Are we sure they're going to respond to that kind of thing? I wonder if we shouldn't bump into them in the middle of our little altercation. Perhaps.
That's exactly.
Yeah, that might make more sense. I suggest that Ishka throws Benson at them.
That works.
I mean, that could be distracting, right? And Benson, you know how to roll. I've seen you roll around. You won't get too hurt.
Slightly racist, right? But I'll go with it.
Well, he could... I mean, Ishka could throw me, but I'd kill someone if I landed on him.
Accurate. Well, it sounds like we're going with the fastball special. So, you all make your way to Siren Song Alley, and you can indeed hear the echoing sounds that would almost be lilting and haunting if you weren't able to make out the lyrics, which are too bawdy for me to repeat on the air here. Needless to say, you all gain fluency in limericks after spending a little bit of time camped out in Siren Song Alley. You were able to get into your positions, waiting for them to come, and I actually have all your passive perception scores here, so you are. It's a little harder for Ishka to hear it, but everyone else gives the signal when you hear footsteps coming, and you do need to see a trio of couriers. Well, they look like thugs in like middling black clothing and cloaks to stay a little less obtrusive at night, with a fire beetle with a trunk on the back. And this is Sasha, Ishka, and Benson's cue, as I'm assuming you come tumbling out of another portion of the alley in the middle of a fight. And Benson, as you are protesting, Ishka picks you up. And Ishka, why don't you give me an athletics check to hurl Benson at the approaching thugs?
7 after modifications.
Okay. So you hurl him, but Benson's really squirmy, so you're going for it. You don't get the angle right, and it's kind of that thing like where you hit the bottom of a pool ball and it just spins. So Benson, you end up like tumbling up in the air. Give me an acrobatics check to see if you can stick this.
I'm rolling lots of 17s for some reason. So acrobatics, that'd be expertise. 23.
Okay, you're flying through the air, like tumbling, but you manage to grab onto your legs to steady yourself and control the turns until you can finally aim yourself almost like a missile when you start coming down at the arc, feet first, right toward the group of thugs who realize that you're headed right toward them. Look out! As they all try to dive out of the way. Tanjo, this is your chance. Give me a stealth check. I will give you advantage.
Okay,
due to
good.
the distraction.
Ooh, okay, that's an 18.
Oh, more than enough. So you have finally found your nimbleness and laid on your toes. You go rushing in. You're able to switch out the trunks. You think the one they were using may be actual basilisk skin as opposed to the faux basilisk skin from the one that you have. But then quickly like haul it out of there without jingling anything as they are all recovering and your companions continue to loudly argue and fight with each other and move down the alley. The thugs just try to get out of the way, and one of them's even like, drunk fucking gnomes, and sends a kick that misses toward Benson as you easily roll out of the way and pick yourself up and then scurry off. But the illusion seems to be complete as they're, come on. And they hurry further down Siren Song Alley. Once you're sure they're clear, you are all able to get together and then quickly go follow them so that Bracklor can let you in to the abode where the mechanician is being held on the Cliffside District. So you go rushing off as you're basically waiting to see his signal as he opens one of the doors. The building is one of the many set into the stone sides of the cliffs. You're looking at it from a pedestrian bridge that runs over one of the main roads that heads towards there. While there is a normal like residential door there, one of the things that is unusual is that this has a large, almost like a warehouse door that seems to open up. It looks like it's got room for a whole carriage, if not more, in there. So one of the nicer estates, or because no one uses these as warehouses. The properties are too expensive for that. But you're not surprised that Madrakan has this. You're waiting as the light dies out and some of the street lamps turn on magically. This is the Imperial City after all. And are waiting to see Bracklor emerge. But then everyone give me another perception check.
18.
Natural 20.
Ooh.
Okay. You hear a noise, a loud creaking, and it's almost like something mechanically grinding, and you see those large doors opening up in the house. Bracklor must have let you all in. But then beyond there, backlit by light inside this large, what looks like some type of workshop that's behind it, there is a huge steel vehicle that looks like a covered wagon that is made out of steel. It's tall, it's a curved U shape that it comes to, but rather than wheels set on the side, you can see that beneath it there seems to be multiple legs, no other way, or columns. There's no other way to describe it. The front of it seems to have a large fan-like shield, and you can see that instead of having a place for someone to sit at the lead, there's just a large bulbous sphere with two yellow, what looks like lenses on the front, viewports, and a spike and some kind of cylinder that are coming out of it as well. It's reminiscent of some of those, the firearms that are coming out of the far edges, from the workshops at the far edges of the Empire at this point. You see the chest getting loaded onto this vehicle in the back by a number of goons, you can assume, one of whom you recognize, even from far away, as the Pale Lord due to his albino skin and hair. And you also see a bound and gagged dwarf, which matches the description of the mechanician, being carried onto this vehicle. Even as you are all taking this in, you see it begin to move forward as the 10 golem-like legs begin to rapidly run beneath the vehicle, and it charges out of this workshop, out of this garage, essentially down the main road toward whatever destination they are taking the mechanician and Bracklor towards. Fortunately for you all, that path is taking them directly beneath the pedestrian bridge that you are now lurking on. You can make an acrobatics, you can jump on, and you'll need to make an acrobatics check for the landing.
This is gonna be bad. I can't hold on to nothing to save my life. Remember the whole boat thing? I was the one swimming first. Taja, you're real good at this kind of stuff. Here, take this rope. Hold on to it. Don't let me fall off.
Okay. Grab the rope, brace my feet against the side of it. Side of the bridge.
Well, you're going to, like, yeah, it's racing by beneath you, so you're just going to have to jump on if you want to try and make it.
I grab the rope and I say, I think we're jumping anyway. Sorry, Sasha.
Well, this way, if Sasha misses, you know, she's tethered to somebody.
Yeah, I got a natural 1. The dice knew.
Oh, that is fine. I accounted for that because I've watched you play before, Guy. Okay, everyone else. Tajo, what did you roll?
An 8.
Okay. Vincent, what did you get?
Can I use my inspiration die on this as well?
If you'd like to.
Fantastic.
Probably
That
good
brings
idea.
it to a 17.
Okay. Bracklor, you don't need to roll. Ishka.
14 plus 0, 14.
Okay. So Tajo, your landing is a little rough. You take 1 point of damage from the fall. Sasha, you land and bounce and then roll off the side, and you're clinging onto it there. Luckily, you're tied off by a rope to Tajo, so Tajo is able to help steady you and not really pull you up, but just let you swing around to the back of this strange vehicle. It's racing through the city at more than 90 feet per round, going incredibly fast. It's shaking and jostling. There's a narrow platform that you can stand on the back, though you're all going to have to like hold on to keep from falling off. You can hear like pistons, and it sounds like steam and buzzes of electricity when you're like clinging close to the shell of this thing. This is clearly another invention of the mechanicians, though it's unlike anything you've ever seen. And as it goes racing through the city and then out of the city walls, as it's going up and around the cliffs that overlook the city on the coast, you all begin making your way in, which brings us back to the scene that we started the session with. And so Benson and Tajo get the door open. Sasha and Ishka go rushing in, felling some of their opponents right off the back. And Brackler has gone and taking control of the control console as this thing is racing toward the edge of the Cliffs of Lost Hope. Everybody roll initiative.
You have 10 minutes left.
Oh, I know.
Uh-oh. I guess initiative's not a horrible time to roll in that one.
Oh, no. You're terrible.
Somebody
I got
worse
an
than
18.
me. I've got a 2.
Goodness gracious.
Seem to be doing okay. We got a 21.
Oh,
Hey. It's probably good for the person
size
who's controlling the
difference. When
vehicle.
you're little, you go faster.
That's right.
Sasha's
Nope.
on an 8.
Okay, Sasha's on an 8. Sorry, who had 21?
That'd be Bracklor.
Bracklor, and then
Benson had an 18.
Okay, and Ishka.
2.
Sorry,
2.
2. Okay. So after Tajo, what's a natural 1 get you? Does that still get
3.
you a 3? Okay. Somehow.
Nobody is worse than me, actually.
Okay.
I'm-
That's last, right?
Bracklor, you are up first. Now, you have gotten the viewports open, and you realize you're not going to have much time to either turn this vehicle or find some way to avoid disaster with the cliffs, but you do have some time. And you have the Scroll of Thunderwave and your spells. Basically saying, like, you can, if you want to, you do have time to take, to attack or do other actions this round and try to avert disaster at the controls next round.
All right, so as he turns around from the controls quickly, just to kind of doing a shoulder check, what's he seeing out the back?
So you can see the Vegapygmies that are there, one of which is already down, but they do seem to have some kind of regeneration. Well, many things with regeneration are weak against fire. And then the Thry-Kreen is also like immediately behind you, but is injured. Ishka and Sasha have both come in and already brought down some of them and have circled to the sides as they're trying to flank the Thry-Kreen and the one remaining Vegapygmy. If you want, because it's narrow, but if you were using a cone, so something like, breath weapon or burning hands, then you would be able to hit your opponents without catching your allies in it.
All right, well, I guess we'll take that opportunity. If we know that the team is going to be safe, then Bracklor kind of kicks off the controls a little bit, takes flight. Begins to well up, the fumes coming up from his from deep in his chest, and then with a little click of his teeth, he's able to let loose the breath weapon towards his enemies.
There
I
comes
love
the fire.
It starts off very, very small, of course, but it just increases exponentially.
I love the image of a 12-foot tall dragonborn doing a massive 15-foot breath cone.
Yeah, he's been holding that one in for a while.
It's very anime. You see the little floating dragon, and then just as it engulfs everything. So that is a dexterity saving throw, correct?
Yep, you got it. It's a DC 10.
Okay. Oh, that is not good. Okay. So roll damage.
All right, that's going to be 10 fire damage.
That is
On a
enough
failed save.
to roast both of the Vegapygmies, and fire negates the regeneration. So the one that was already down stays dead. The other one's just charred. You see it just disappear into ash in the gout of flame. The Thri-Kreen lets out another screech as it's caught completely by surprise by that. It is bloodied and badly injured. You think one more blow would probably bring it down. Next up is Benson.
I will rush in. Is there enough space for me to get at the last enemy, the Thri-Kreen?
Yes, you can take the place of one of the Vegapygmies.
Okay. I'll kind of step on the ashes of the one that exploded and attack with my rapier.
Okay.
That is a 21 to hit.
That will hit.
6 points of piercing damage.
You have sneak attack. You're a rogue.
Oh, I do.
And you have allies adjacent.
That brings it to a total of 11.
Oh. And as you come in, you stab up underneath the abdomen of the Thri-Kreen. It looks completely surprised, even with its multiple limbs, as it was facing off against both Sasha and Ishka. It was not expecting you to come in from below like that. You stab in with your rapier, and you go up at an angle, so it goes all the way deep into the creature's body until you feel that pressure get as multiple organs give way between the to the sharpened point. The creature twitches and spasms, and then just kind of sinks and freezes in place as you have managed to fell McDraken's lieutenant. So,
fantastic.
Sasha, you are up next in the initiative count. Oh, sorry, Benson, did you have another action?
No, I was just going to ask Bracklor if he knew how to stop this thing.
Right. So Sasha is up next, and while Sasha, you definitely don't know how to stop this thing, you're pretty sure the dwarf that's tied up there in the corner does. And if you would like, you can go free him if you'd like. Or you can smash the control panel. It's up to you.
Sasha will move over to the dwarf, making, as she does, she makes sure, of course, everything is dead. So she's casting a wary glance over that, and then we'll look down at the dwarf. Are you that Dr. Kambada person thing? I mean, are you making some kind of necromancy undead machine?
He nods, looking a little worried, like up at the control panel and the windows.
If you don't stop this vehicle right now, we'll make sure that your machine's going to be the thing bringing you back to life.
He struggles. Okay. So he gets out quickly. He's pulling the gag off, but even as he does, he runs over to the control panel, begins flipping a number of levers, and he actually reaches to the side and hits a switch there. You feel the whole vehicle begin to shake, and you hear and the panels on the side open up. You can see out the windows. There's now a pair of, look like fins made out of steel and leather or cloth that have extended out to the sides of this vehicle as it seems to be racing even faster toward the edge of the cliff. As you get closer and it seems to pick up speed, you hear there's a sudden shaking and you all are nearly knocked off your feet as the momentum increases. You feel yourself pressed against the back of the vehicle, some of you having to hold on to make sure you don't go out the door as it takes off and literally leaps into the air as the legs fold up underneath, and it begins flying over the coastline, powered by whatever arcane artificer device is at the heart of this thing.
Immediately toss my cookies out the back window.
Thank you.
Well, that was
Thank you for freeing me.
Where the hell are we going, and why is this thing flying?
This was not in the job description.
We must get away.
Get away from what?
McDraken, he is going to activate the device tonight. We do not have any time. We have to move now. And he actually pushes one of the levers, which causes it to start to throttle up. It's then that you all begin to notice that there is a light that is coming through the open back hatch of the vehicle that you're in. And then as you look out the back, you can see that coming from the center of the city, from the Sovereign Palace, there is a beam shooting into the sky of bright, white-hot purple light that seems to be pulsing with a greater and greater speed that has started up.
Guys, what's that?
There's, as you're all looking... I'm sorry, what?
I was answering Tajo. It's not good.
As you're all looking at this energy that's emitting from the Sovereign Palace, there's a loud noise, like reverberant energy, and you see the beam pulse faster and faster and glow brighter, and then suddenly expand outward in a massive hemisphere of purple energy that seems to be consuming the entire city as it travels, picking up more and more speed that seems to deny the laws of physics as you understand them. The vehicle begins to rock and shake as turbulence is pushed your way by everything being displaced by this energy field. And as you all watch in horror, you see what at first looks like swirling clouds of purple smoke rising in slow motion in graceful shapes from within the energy that's enshrouding the entire imperial city now and continuing to expand outwards. But then you realize that these clouds are not smoke. They're the souls of all the residents of the city being released and drawn into this foul necromantic device.
Told you we're going to be fighting zombies.
You've been successful, but that didn't stop the cataclysm that McDraken had planned from taking place. Still, the person that you have rescued, this mechanician, seems to be the only person that holds the key to stopping whatever dark force McDraken has unleashed on the world in his attempt to remake the Chalcedony throne in his own image and all the people on this land in it as well. You all watch in stunned silence as this cataclysm unfolds and the hemisphere eventually seems to come to an end, not quite reaching you, even as the mechanician has this vehicle moving faster and faster, shaking beneath you, so you all have to hold on. Ishka, as everyone is looking out, beholding this out the back door, while the group is distracted, you hear a voice.
Kill the mechanician.
You feel the rune on your hand, the sigil, burning slightly as your hands cannot help but twitch, and you steel your resolve as you make your decision. And that's what will end the session.
There you go.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da. Okay, right. Thank you for that. Okay, so We get to the part now where we'll give you our feedback in the terms of the score. So players, if you want to go ahead and start entering into your score sheet. Now, that score sheet, of course, we have, we're going to be putting in our thoughts. We're going to combine those together. I'm going to come back with those. Whilst we fill that in, however, if you want to know exactly what's in the score sheet, here is a section of the score sheet being explained to you, and check it out whilst we do the scores. When we talk about the tone section of the story category in the Training Grounds scorecard, we have to make sure that we differentiate between tone and simple chaos and lack of intention. Tone is something visceral. The players have to feel the atmosphere, the environment that they find themselves in. If they're not feeling that, if it's not coming through, and it's just sitting around playing a game that happens to be set in a fantasy environment or a sci-fi environment, then the tone has been lost. At the same time, if the tone is kept jovial and light by the GM, making jokes and things during a ceremony of death or a very somber moment, that too can be incredibly disruptive, almost more so than not having any tone at all. It can disjoint the narrative and make the players feel as if, well, none of this is really being taken seriously. An incredibly somber tone during a light moment is equally disastrous. So for the GM, it's all about trying to find that balance between the right tone, the right pace, and making sure that the players are getting all of that information. There are a few ways that they can do this, of course. Utilizing the 5 senses is one of them, and making sure that the appropriate diction is used for describing the scene and the dialogue of the NPCs that they encounter. Tone is very difficult and is a finesse level dungeon master or game master technique, in my opinion, as it is difficult to pull off. One of the most difficult sections on the Training Grounds scorecard is the immersion section under story. Immersion is so difficult to get within a role-playing space online, and this is something that we have to bear in mind. We are stuck with this glass area, this small boundary that we cannot break out of. There is no physicality to our presence. There is a microphone and there's headphones, as well as all of the other surrounding territory, which as the game master you don't have any control over. However, for immersion to work completely, you don't have to be in the same room sitting around the same table. You can control that immersive experience by making sure that all of the players' characters are engaged and that they are doing something meaningful and have not just been left to sit and do nothing. Immersion is also about making sure that you read the players and figure out what it is that they are after, rather than just giving them what you want to give them. If you are giving them what they are after, they will be immersed in your space and in your game. One of the easier categories on the Training Grounds scorecard to score well in, at least in my opinion, is the adaptation or twist section of the story category. Why do I say that it's one of the easiest ones? A twist is always fun to do and is fairly straightforward. Adaptation is even simpler, and quite literally you are being told as the GM how to do it by somebody else. When your players are giving ideas, they're talking amongst each other, they're throwing out, oh, I hope it's not a this, or oh, I bet you it's a this, they are literally giving you, as the GM, opportunities to adapt your narrative, to adapt your events, or to give a twist on what the players have suggested. So you're not working alone in terms of coming up with those. Where players are not being communicative and not giving you that information, which frequently happens with online play as a result of the way that we can't listen to each other at the same time as other people are talking, but it does sometimes happen where the GM has to come up with things on their own. That's equally simple. Adapt to what the players are looking for or what their characters have been designed to do, or throw in a twist where you reverse the situation, turn it on its head, or use expectation and subvert that expectation to come up with a twist. It sounds perhaps easier than it is, but once you get used to turning things around, it starts to make a lot more sense, and it obviously will improve the quality of your game and your score. In the table management category of the Training Grounds scorecard, you'll see the first section is controlled environment. Now, this is not talking about you having a control over your environment. What happens, happens. But it's a control over the players at your table. You, as the GM, are responsible for allocating equal time to each and every single player, for stopping players who are domineering the table, and for encouraging players who are perhaps a little bit more reserved or shy, for example. The entire idea behind controlling your table is making sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to have fun. And why not? That is the point of this hobby, after all. Going hand in hand with a controlled environment is the section Equality of Time under the table management category on the scorecard. Making sure that every player and PC has the same amount of time to respond is critical. There are certain classes that might require the PC and the player to have more prep in terms of deciding what they're doing, but that doesn't mean that it should be fair that they get to take 10 minutes to decide on their turn what they're doing, whereas somebody else takes 30 seconds. It's equally not fair to say to the person who takes 30 seconds because they know the rules very well, it's not fair for them to complain when someone who's new to the game takes maybe a minute to respond, or less depending on the situation. It is up to you as the GM to make sure that the time allocated to each player and to each of their characters is equitable and fair, and that each of them has an opportunity to monologue against the villain or to take an action that's cool. Make sure, though, that not one of them who's perhaps more descriptive or charismatic starts to have more opportunity to engage because they're more entertaining to watch. You have to make sure that every player and PC gets the time that they want. Some players don't want the limelight. They want to be in the background. You have to read that as well and make sure that you're not then demanding that they come to the fore, because that's not what they want. That is a fine balance that only the best GMs know how to handle. A very subjective section.
Yeah.
All right, we are back. We have the score and Light Up the Forge on Twitch. All of the world Anvilites joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You have arrived at the critical moment where the score is revealed. But before we reveal that score, I just want to have a little bit of a brief chat in terms of the flow of the game, as well as the purpose of chat, because I saw in chat a lot of people were saying, what should we be doing in chat, and there was some discussion on how one should comment or make statements as one is watching the show. So I think the first and foremost that this is a learning exercise. Primarily it's a learning exercise for the GM who's participating. I think also as players we are also watching a GM going, okay, well, this is what he did or she did or they did. It's not necessarily what I would do, but let me learn from it. Let me see how that plays out. So that's the primary opportunity that we have as players and as viewers of what's going down. But I also think that chat should be a space where we can say, well, I disagree with what the GM has done because of this and that. Always try and substantiate a statement if you're going to make one. And I encourage you to do so. We are here to learn. So if you are going to say, I think the GM did a great job because it got the players to do that, or because it made me feel like I was there, that's something that's absolutely appropriate to add into chat. If you disagree with the GM, you're entitled to say, I think the GM doesn't know what they're doing. Did you see what they did with that particular NPC? I felt it derailed the entire game. That's a completely valid statement to have as well. What we're not looking for is, I think the GM is absolutely ugly and should wear a paper bag on their head. I'm not saying that you should. That's something that no one can learn from. There is absolutely no value there whatsoever, unless you describe how to wear a paper bag, but then you don't necessarily say who should wear it. Anyway, that's not the point. So that's the decision. That's the point of chat, as well as now you get to ask questions. So I see in chat you have been advised, please put the word question in caps in front of your question, and then throw the question out. I will try and answer it. We've still got about 12 minutes or so before the show's over. So if you do have questions for the GM or for the cast, then please ask them. Now, to resolve something else that I saw floating around in chat, Spike, how much information were you given about the adventure today?
3 sentences.
And what were those 3 sentences?
It was basically that the party is trying to rescue an artificer that was kidnapped or held captive by McDraken, and had been building a necromantic device for him. Though the mission was not for the device, it was for the artificer.
Right. So that was the whole sentence, and this is kind of what you've given us out of that. So that's what every GM gets, is they get a 3-sentence, maybe 4 sentences, if I was feeling very creative, to based on their entire adventure around how they do it, what they do. It is entirely up to them. Now, you threw us into a world of lore. You had districts of areas of cities, you had hierarchies, you were even throwing some of my favorite food at us in the case of samosas and lassies, and it was just, I'm sitting here going, I haven't had dinner yet, and it is getting late, and you're talking about my favorite food. This is stuff I like to eat. Just as a side note, I do know how to dance to Shava Shava, which was a great song from Bollywood in like the early 2000s. But that's a whole different story altogether. All right, so right, we're here for the scores. So here we go. Let's bring up the scores. Let's see how you did. So there we go. Fair application to all, a 20 in terms of the rules. Consistent application, a 20. I think people are saying you know your rules. This is pretty obvious, okay? Where have we got some low marks? Pacing is a big one, absolutely.
Yep.
Now, obviously, there is a huge time pressure to get a group of people who haven't played together to get into a story. So there is a certain amount of rush that may or may not be there. Why is it something, though, that we on the channel are trying to emphasize to GMs? It's not that you should be able to say, I'm going to run a game in 90 minutes and then do it in 90 minutes. It's so that you're aware of how slow or how fast your game is going, and you putting yourself under constraint to go, hang on, my game is slowing down, I need to speed it up. Or my game is going too fast, I need to slow it down. So that's kind of where the idea comes from. Obviously, I mean, the show can't be an open-ended 4-hour show. So there is that. But in terms of pacing, if I could give you my feedback, I know you were trying to get through a lot of story, and having 5 players is tricky, because that's a 5-minute conversation every time we make a decision, because everyone's going to want to talk, right?
And that was I knew that I had was off on the pacing right in the beginning, or I should say after the opening scene. But when I went to the individual scenes, those started out dragging on longer than I had anticipated, and I knew that impacted everything else going forward from that point, because I knew I had to keep to a timeline. So yeah, totally see that.
All right. Okay. So there we go. Otherwise, 20s for tone, for immersion. I mean, I felt like I was in that city of Mahapajet.
Yes.
Okay, I was writing down. I had so many notes. I was like, Mahapajet, Chalcedonians, Vinayaka, Shesha. I was just writing down as much as I could, because there's just so much coming through. Okay. NPCs, yeah, we knew you were going to score very well there. I think your voices were really good. You kind of gave them some good flavor there, so nothing too serious to worry about. Descriptions, sometimes you gave us pretty accurate descriptions or clear descriptions, sometimes not so much, I felt. And that is again expressed when we move over to style. The descriptions, diction, 16 out of 25, not a bad score, but again, I felt sometimes it was like, I don't know where the hell we are. Now, it was very bold starting us in that combat, but I thought we were on a walkway on the side of a building at one point. And then you described, no, the vehicle's moving forward. So I think sometimes that could have caused an issue there. So that's just something to think about.
Yes, I mean, at the beginning that was intentional. I wanted you guys not knowing what was going on and just like, okay, you're doing this thing, and then wanted to build on that as it went through. But at other times, because I was rushed, I did not put in I have more description written out for a lot of this stuff. But
right. Well, I think that's going to come forward in the next score in terms of the engagement.
Engagement, exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was not able to give each of you enough attention where you got to engage and got to make more choices.
Right, absolutely. I think definitely you're aware of that now, so hopefully next week we can see a change there. I think maybe also something that caused your engagement issue, it seems like you have a lot of notes. And that can also cause you to have sometimes a bit of an issue where you're trying to stick to notes rather than seeing what the players want to do. So that might be also indicative of why that score was low. Senses scored high. I mean, we were all in that dance. We were there. It was cool. I think, yeah, again, if we'd had 6 hours to play this in, we would have had a lot more fun, right? We would have got into that dance. Table management, bit of a mixed bag. Controlled environment, 14. Again, I think that's reflective of perhaps not being as methodical, which asking each player what they wanted to do. That could be something there. And players, feel free to step in. I'm trying to interpret these scores as best I can. Sensitivity, again, also, I think just not paying really much attention to our actions and more just making sure that the story kind of carried on. That's my impression.
Right. I did not give you guys a lot of agency in this, and that was definitely like a shortcoming and something that, especially because of the structuring that I did, having the end be at the beginning, I kind of painted myself into a corner there. So once I was off with the pacing and the timing, that meant I couldn't give as much to everything else and to everyone else. So I definitely see where, I mean, I tried to pack way too much in, and but yeah, gives you room to improve.
Yeah, well, room to improve, absolutely. But rather have too much than too little, because there's nothing worse if we're then all scrounging, desperately trying to find something to do, you know. And it was a big risk throwing us into that combat and then flashing backwards and hoping to God that your players are good enough to go, okay, well, we'll put Bracklaw in the box. We won't cut Benson's legs off. Because we were circling that little pit there, right?
I had been thinking about it, and so I was like, okay, I wanted to have ways to try and guide you guys toward making the decisions I wanted without just saying this is what you do or this is the only thing. But yeah, I definitely needed to give you guys more agency and cut down on the intro scenes. I think as much as I enjoyed those, because I really wanted to try and give life to each of the characters, and rather than have you guys all have to say, like, find that opportunity reaching in conversation for dropping the interesting factoid about your character, it's like, okay, we'll give you a scene that lets you define your character and star on you. I just let that go too long.
I think it was, from my perspective, it was nice to see that. But yes, I felt that personally, instead of running each of our scenes as a complete scene, my advice would be to have started off by saying, all right, Ishka, you're in a drinking competition. This is a situation. Give me a Constitution saving throw or whatever. Once that's done, then bounce. Benson, you're in a dice gaming.
Yeah.
You're rolling a die. So each of us gets to roll a die per turn, basically, rather than having to sit out. I mean, that's my personal opinion. These are just thoughts and things. So I'm going to ask you a stock standard question. And I see Akimoto's on Twitch is asking a similar kind of question. So firstly, let me start with Akimoto's question. Hillary, did you enjoy the session?
Very much so. That was a lot of fun.
It was indeed a lot of fun. Eric, what would you say is something that you really enjoyed in the session?
For me personally, we didn't get enough time to really delve into the flavor of the campaign world, but it was interesting. The Indian flavor, I don't know much about it. I know, but my campaign is set in Egypt, a version of Egypt. So seeing something alternate was very interesting for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Day, what did you wish there was more of?
And I mean, this is kind of something that we touched on already, but a little more player agency is kind of my big thing there, just being able to and it's kind of what you mentioned before, where by starting kind of at the end, we've kind of set ourselves on a path where, whatever happens, we're going to find a way to kind of end up in this situation, but and that's kind of the nature of that storytelling method, but some more agency to let us kind of pick our own paths would have been the cherry on top, I guess.
They are. Daniel, what do you wish you had done differently?
I wish I had done differently.
Is there anything that you wish you would have done differently, personally? Yeah.
Good question. I can't think of anything right off the bat.
Would there be anything that you would like to do? Would have liked to have done but didn't get the opportunities to? Do you think?
I would have liked some more conversation between the characters. I always enjoy that. I know it's an artifact of only having 90 minutes and being on a tight time constraint with characters that we didn't make and all of that, but I would have liked some more of that, I think.
Absolutely. Okay, so GM, did you enjoy the session, or were you panicking and stressing the whole way through?
Well, I mean, two things can be true.
True.
I did really enjoy the session. It was a lot of fun. I do know, like, I usually, when I do run, I don't run on video. I usually do only voice. So that is something different. I'm not used to having to pay attention to the screen as much. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like, my only regret was that I was not able to get the pacing down enough to give you guys more room in the middle to have agency in those interactions and make your own decision. But also, I kind of made that conscious decision too. It's like, hey, I'm going to try and pack a lot in here, and that's going to mean that I'm going to have to cut down on those opportunities for players to talk to each other, for extended periods of time, because I can only pad so much time. So, which is something I'll improve on next time.
There we go. Well, we can but hope to see. We have now run out of time. Oh my, we've run out of time already. I can't believe it. So that's it for us tonight, folks. Thank you for tuning in and watching. And the show goes on next week. Spike, hopefully you'll be back with us to run a second session. But I don't think we will be joined by these wonderful players. We were all doing accents and we were kind of getting into it. I wish we could have had a couple extra hours just to see where the hell this dynamic is going. There was some cool stuff happening in there. Anyway, players, thank you so much for giving your time and coming to play with us this evening or this morning, depending on where you are in the world. I really do appreciate it. And yes, Spike, thank you for running and prepping the game and for participating in this whole thing. So until next week, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.